Well, the murder of 21-year-old Mangosuthu University of Technology student, that Zolile Khumalo, by her former boyfriend at a student residence in KwaZulu-Natal has once again thrown the spotlight on gender-based violence in the country. This week also saw the conviction and sentencing of Sandile Mantsoe, who murdered 22-year-old Karabo Mokoena in April last year. Her burnt body was found in Johannesburg suburb of Lyndhurst a day after she was reported missing. Well, to understand more about intimate partner femicide, we have in studio Counselling Psychologist Jeremy Bayer. Good afternoon, Jeremy. Welcome to the SABC News Desk once again. Always a pleasure having you here with us.
Thank you very much.
Jeremy, I want to start off by saying that gender-based violence is not a uniquely South African problem, but the brutality behind the crimes and its frequency is becoming more alarming as the days go on. Why is this such a pervasive problem that permeates the fabric of South African society just now?
Well, from the top of my head, the reason I believe first off it's so pervasive is because we're very reactive. We don't look at the development of a person. A murderer doesn't happen overnight. So what I'm saying is, what happens firstly in this murderer's development? Do they have a history of vandalism, theft, stealing? Are they modeling bad parental behavior, substance abuse early on? Is there a history of violence and aggression in their family? And so if we are to see these people, we have to look early on, because a murderer doesn't happen overnight. That's number one. And number two, our history of violence as a culture, witnessing violence in our communities, and then this culture of ownership and dominance. You know, owning a woman is not like owning a car. The difference is a woman speaks and talks, and so when it disagrees with you, you think, well, hang on a second, you're not allowed to speak, so what do you end up doing? You end up raping this person because you have this obsession with ownership and dominance, which is also sort of historical in our country. So those are some of the reasons behind it. And the violence comes because we're not picking up these signs early on, and then by the time a person's an adult, it's too late. Yeah.
So how do we begin to tackle patriarchal attitudes and mindsets that are so pervasive within our society, among South African men? So
firstly, parenting. What are you as a parent teaching your children? What are your children listening to, and what are they watching in terms of how you as a man are treating your mother? That's number one. Number two, education early on in primary schools. So learning from a young age, not sort of by the time you get to sort of matric or university. It's got to be from a much earlier age. Easy access of alcohol and drugs in this country is a big problem, because when you're having sort of alcohol at the age of 12 or 13, which happens, that's a precipitating factor to gender-based violence, so that's a problem as well. And the easy access of weapons, which is also very, very easier to attain. And the media or watching violent films, so you as a parent got to closely monitor your children and allow them to do certain things only at a specific age. So those would be some of the issues that I would say.
With the Karabo case that happened this week, we saw that case wrapped up fairly rapidly. Within the year, we had a trial concluded, we had conviction and a sentencing. What is it about this particular case that captured the public eye?
Well, the thing that sticks out to me is the horrific nature of it. So, you know, any killing is bad killing, but burning someone's body just leaves such an indelible mark. So perhaps the public has well and truly had enough. Perhaps that was the final straw, and I think it's the nature of the death that's got to be. And you know, this young bright girl who had this whole future ahead of her. That for me is what sticks out. And I think also the community. What I'm noticing with this Mangosuthu incident and that one is how the community rallied. Usually with gender-based violence, the victims keep silent and they're so scared of saying something in case it backfires towards them. But the difference in this case is that in both instances the community has risen up. That's what we need more in society, not just for the families or them to speak, but the whole of South Africa to speak up against this. That's for me the way to move forward.
Well, the case of the Mangosuthu Technikon student, she was trying to get out of this relationship. She had left the relationship, but the boyfriend or former boyfriend still managed to gain access to her. Is there enough of support, and what should that support look like for females who want to leave abusive relationships?
Well, the support firstly is, you know, if they're traumatized, to firstly seek mental health help, because the first thing is to resurrect your self-esteem. In terms of actual help, you know, you've got to ask, you know, how did this guy get into the university with a gun? Those kind of things. So in terms of, you know, what's the security like at the university? But for the females itself, to say to themselves, number one, my self-esteem, and number two, I have a choice in terms of what sort of who I date and that type of thing. You're not just always at the mercy of an abusive boyfriend. Your life is in your hands as well.
Jeremy Bayer, counselling psychologist, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us on the SABC News Desk.